Welcome, everybody, to Write That Down, a Probetus podcast. I'm your host, Matt Fisher. Apparently, that was a new intro that we were just told about that we did not get to preview. And I think we're going to probably talk about what we thought about it. Phil?
I didn't notice anything different. It looked the same.
All right. So,
But
Phil,
I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say it's better than before.
all right. I would probably agree with that. Mark, your thoughts?
I noticed that it didn't say staring.
Oh,
It said starring. I don't know if it said that again, but I'm just bringing that up from a couple of seasons ago.
I remember that.
I have no idea.
yeah. Christy, you weren't here for that.
No, but
We stared.
I remember that episode because Matt just like stared at the camera.
'Cause
And
it
like
was-
we thought it was so funny because we knew there was a typo. But your average listener, let's say they're not watching the video, they have no idea. And so it just like kind of fell on its face.
I thought it got rave reviews. Chrissy, how about you? What did you think about the intro that we
I
just had? The
thought-
brand new intro.
A, it was awesome. B, I didn't see a difference.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that honest feedback. So, since this is we're early in the season here, and I feel like we had a pretty good first episode. You know, the critics will ultimately decide how it was.
It got pretty dark.
Well, it got weird, but I mean, I'm not gonna say it's good or bad. I'm just gonna say we probably needed an icebreaker. So I felt like coming in today, we should have an icebreaker question. And to be fair, I didn't just come up with the icebreaker and then take 4 hours to think about it and then spring it on you. So I picked the icebreaker, and then I went around to everybody's office and I said, "Here's the question I'm gonna ask." This was like an hour and a half ago, and I'm going to ask the question, and then I'm going to have you give your answer and pretend like I'm just asking it for the first time, and then blurt out your answer and then say, "This is why."
Okay.
I'm going to start with Chrissy.
Oh, no. No.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
All right, hit me.
Hey,
What's the
Chrissy,
question, Matt?
I've got an icebreaker question for you.
Let me hear it.
If you could have unlimited supply of one thing for the rest of your life, what would that one thing be?
Are there any restrictions?
And there were no restrictions put on this icebreaker that I just read to you. Anything, any one thing. I guess the restriction is that it's one thing.
Just like one thing?
It's not more wishes. This isn't a wish
Not like
thing.
$100 bills?
Sure.
Because there's a lot of, ways this could go.
Okay. Is that your answer? $100 bills?
I mean, why do 100? You could just
No.
do a penny. If it's unlimited, you could still have as much as you
Can
want.
you imagine carrying around all those pennies?
Hundreds are more efficient, I guess.
Hundreds are more efficient.
Chrissy,
But money is like, everyone's going to ask for money.
everybody's going to ask for more wishes, but this isn't
Are you
about
changing
wishes.
your
I'm
answer?
changing. That was never my answer.
All right, Chrissy,
I
what's
did
your-
not lock it in.
What was that game show?
I don't remember.
No, it was
Final answer.
final
Yeah.
answer. So that's your final answer.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yes. Who wants to be? Yes. Okay. Chrissy, could you please answer the question?
We need to move on.
I don't know. It's too hard. Nutella.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Nutella. Why Nutella?
Because it's like chocolate that you're allowed to spread on butter and call a meal, or bread and call a meal.
And people think it's healthy.
They think it is.
Yes, it is definitely
Yeah.
not.
Delicious.
Sorry, Nutella. You fooled everybody, but you didn't fool me. All right, thank you, Chrissy.
You're
Mark Jensen, if you could have unlimited supply of one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I'll take bachelor number one. I feel like I'm on a dating game. So I'm going to go with love.
Love.
Because we all need to have love.
You need a sound
that's
effect.
pretty
for that.
good.
I do need a sound effect. How about this one? All right. So Mark Jensen
Request
wants
denied.
All right, Mark Jensen went totally. I don't even know, off the rails. Not off the rails. I would say non-traditional as a
Well,
physical thing.
Mark is
even though it said a
non-traditional.
supply of one thing. So, all right. So now we've got. Yeah. All right. So we've got.
maybe
Nutella,
we should get our wishes together.
Nutella, love, and Phil. If you could have an unlimited supply of one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Brisket.
Brisket. Okay.
Every time.
Mac,
Brisket is very expensive. It takes forever to prepare. And so if you could just take out those two things and just ready to go, it's like, man, I'm having a rough day. I don't feel loved. Brisket. Boom.
Nutella.
Hey, I don't feel like I have enough money. Brisket. Like, hey, I'm out of Nutella. That's okay. I have brisket,
But-
and it's ready.
But when you say
I did-
brisket takes like a long time, I'm going to do a shout out to our office mate, Katie. And if you have an air fryer, it won't take long.
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
15
Cannot make
minutes.
brisket in an air fryer.
You can reheat
Sacrilege.
brisket in an air fryer. So one thing I will just ask you, Phil, like you were kind of going through the scenarios of this happens in my life. I've got brisket. At
Yeah.
one point, I saw you at the very end pull brisket from your pocket.
Oh yeah, like I imagine having it like a sidearm or a holster, right?
All right.
So you've got your spot. I'll even say fanny pack. If fanny packs, you know, I know they're coming back in style. I'd be willing to wear one if it contained brisket all the time.
Wow. And it would probably be like if you had unlimited brisket, my guess is it would be like a custom fanny pack
Yeah.
that's got like smell
And
Magic
sensors and-
fanny pack.
I'm imagining that like I wouldn't have to carry all of it at one time. It would just like manifest like the loaves and the fishes and Jesus. Like so, like as I'd remove it, there more would be supplied, so I wouldn't have to carry a large pack. It could just be a small pouch.
I'm
Okay,
sure
now
glad you have your
we're-
own office because I think that'd be stinky.
I think I'm going more towards Mark's right now about love because I'm like
Let us love
we
one
can
another.
we can manifest love, I guess. But
Yeah.
now we're manifesting.
If
Whatever
you
it
had
is.
unlimited $100 bills, you could
Hey,
just go buy
You can make
brisket.
fun of it until you want to have some, and I'll be like, sorry guys, you made your choice. I made mine.
Because in this world that has the unlimited everything, like nobody else has, and that would be it too. Like that would be the additional part of it. Like, and nobody else could have it.
Oh, that's
Oh.
great.
Yeah, that's the
What?
I'd have exclusive rights to brisket.
right.
Oh my gosh. I feel like there's a business idea here.
Yeah, we're gonna have a magic genie with
I'm gonna work-
wishes, and
I'm going to work on the
unlimited-
logistics.
And a brisket fanny pack.
That's
They're
that's
hip
what's
bags now. Hip bags or sling bags.
Yeah, Mark Jensen's got one of those.
Crossbody.
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 That's what
And
it's
I
called.
love it. I have
Right.
2 of them.
So we've got Nutella Love and brisket.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer?
I do have an answer, and I will say this: when I went into everybody's office, like I went to Phil's office first, and I asked the question.
I said brisket
It was
then.
literally no. There was no
Hesitation.
He didn't even blink. It was a brisket. And I went into Chrissy's office, and she kind of did what she did here. She's like, "I don't understand the question. Could you repeat it?" Mark's looking at me like I'm in the middle of a project right now. I don't care. So my reaction was probably similar to Phil's. So I'm reading it, looking at all these options on the interweb, and I'm looking at it, and I immediately think that's the question, and my answer is toilet paper.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it came to my head right away because if I learned anything during COVID, and I feel like I learned a lot of things, but it's like for some reason when crap hits the fan,
Literally.
You had
Literally.
to say that, didn't you?
toilet paper. And I'm as a sales guy, I'm like, I'm gonna have oodles and oodles. And I like your idea of manifestation too of this
Yeah.
stuff, because if I'm selling toilet paper and it's like I got toilet paper, I'm just gonna keep making money on this toilet paper
Yeah.
because there's probably got to be like the sales cycle ends at some point because
Yeah.
people will have bought all the toilet paper they need, but apparently
Will
not.
they?
I don't know.
So I'm imagining like Chrissy's first answer when she said money. I made the joke like, oh, you could start with a penny, but like the 100 is more efficient. Like you wouldn't want just like one toilet paper roll that would keep manifesting because you'd have to grab one then the other. Like what pack of toilet paper would you want there to be
Like
each
the
time?
30 pack.
Each time you went to the toilet paper locker.
The
30
magic toilet
30,
paper
yeah,
locker.
36 double rolls.
36?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
I have a feeling that Phil's kind of asking that because if he eats all that brisket, he's going to need toilet paper.
yeah.
And I will.
Exactly.
You and I
Looking
could
to go
work
into business together.
Honestly,
Yeah.
the Nutella too. I don't know what that does to your digestive system when you have unlimited Nutella. So,
I don't know.
but for sure, brisket. I mean, you're in trouble, buddy.
That is why you pick love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd be willing to deal with the consequences.
Now, technically, Mark, you didn't pick love. You picked bachelor number 1. What if he doesn't
Or was
love
it?
you?
Or was it bachelor number? I thought it was number 2. We'll
Oh,
have to go
I
back.
missed. I'm
what I
sorry.
feel, that's what I feel like we're on.
Oh, good stuff. So, I will thank you all for participating in the game of icebreakers. I feel like we're much more connected now than we were last episode.
No,
Like,
I'm just more hungry. Like it always happens to me.
well, fortunately, we got here today, and the would you like to show what's here? There it is. There's cupcakes.
Sorry, you should have picked cupcakes, Phil. You picked brisket. And I think the frosting's made out of Nutella. Chrissy, you
I guess they're mine.
Yeah, so we came in today, and the wonderful hosts that we have here at Best Source,
Grand Forks Best Source.
GF,
Get it right.
BS, had Oh for Heaven's cupcakes. So shout out to GFBS and Oh for Heaven's cupcakes for. We're just gonna say they were
You
provided.
got that
for,
wrong too. It's Oh for Heaven's Cakes.
What did I say? What did I say? Oh,
Cupcake is what's on the table.
what did I say? Oh for Heaven's cupcakes.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's kind of pigeonholing them because on the sign it says "and more,"
Okay.
Oh, we've had this conversation.
which is like there's additional things that you can get.
So this
All
is a
right.
box of and more.
Yeah.
Okay, so Oh for Heaven's Cakes, thank you for sponsoring Prometheus, because that's what we're just gonna assume now. So we are hosted
We mention
by,
your brand on our podcast.
by Grand Forks Best Source.
We're
and
sponsored.
We are sponsored today by Oh for Heaven's Cakes
Mm-hmm.
and more. Not as previously said, Oh for Heaven's Cupcakes, even though it's cupcakes in front of me in my.
That's actually their competition. They're across the hall,
Actually,
but they don't have more. They only sell cupcakes.
yes, they just have cupcakes.
Terrible. Oh my
And Grand Forks Best Source went and bought cupcakes from Oh for Heaven's Cakes and more, and looked across the hall
Yeah.
as they were buying it and said, just shook their head, and
Yep.
just made them feel really bad.
Yep.
But in all reality, the Women's Pregnancy Center is actually across the hall from us.
Sorry.
Yeah.
On that note, we've got a write that down comment. So obviously, every episode we come in here and Matt says something genius according to him and Phil, and then I think by this point in him writing stuff down, he's realized that it's not smart at all, and it's really become a chore that he's had to do. Where Mark and Chrissy have known that the whole time. So
Yeah.
I'd say at these points in the comments, Phil's just like he's making this face, like, and then grabs the book, and then he's like,
Yeah.
"All right, just spit it out, Matt."
I feel like now when you have something for me to write down, it's more of an interruption in my workflow.
We had a conversation about interruptions, Matt.
when. Well, I mean, at the office, like one time I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Did you
Matt-
mean it?
I
Matt-
meant it.
Oh,
Matt came
I
into
think
my
I
office
think
one.
I think I swore during the thing,
I think you did too.
and then I got in trouble from HR for that.
So Matt came to my office today and he said QQ. I didn't know what he meant.
Oh,
Chrissy,
I
Chrissy,
know.
what is
Quick
QQ?
question. Quick question.
Yeah. And I thought it was so like QQ is a instant messaging software that they use in China. And then the Chinese government can just read and hear everything. And I'm like, why would he be talking about that?
Matt,
It's true.
Bill.
Just Google it, but you Google it in the US.
So it was one of our friends at Sendo. So was it Ruth or was it Allison?
I'm not sure, but the first time that came up, I was like, "What?"
Yeah, but that's what we use that now
Yes.
because it's
makes
Good
sense.
question.
it's
All right,
Makes
I'll
sense.
I'll try to add it to my drip.
It sounds a little weird out loud, though.
We talked about
I know
that
we
last
talked
week.
about it last
Okay.
time, and you didn't use it.
I
right.
know I didn't. I'm sorry.
It sounds a little weird when you say it out loud. When you
It
read
is.
QQ, it makes sense.
It's a
but
good-
saying QQ, is that really efficient?
Ta-ta.
Oh, see, Tata is efficient saying that out loud. QQ is it does sound. It sounds like a Chinese
Instant messaging software.
instant messaging software that you also said tracks.
It's yeah.
You
it's-
got deep into it, and as I was like slowly backing out of your office, as you were telling me
yeah.
about the Chinese government and what they were doing.
They just read everything, and if
Speci-
you toe the line, you're fine. If
but
you don't,
specifically
then
on
you
the
disappear.
QQ, or is that all of their stuff?
Probably all of it.
I'm not at liberty to say.
I know you're not, and I know why you're not, and we'll just leave that for another comment. Yep. No.
I have
Chrissy,
relatives
no,
that are
yep.
from the mainland.
Yes, we will leave it at that.
All right. Anyway.
QQ, they're watching you. All right, and they're probably watching me now. So here's a quote that I said at one point. In every bit of sarcasm, there's some truth.
No. You're welcome.
Phil,
Just
I
roll the
sense
music
some
now.
There it is.
Just roll the music. We're done.
Oh no, I should have done the drum roll before you said.
was
that was
terribly done.
Oh, how about that?
Thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Or like an eye
Wonderful.
roll.
Yeah. There's an eye roll. Like
If you could put an eye roll into sound, I don't
yeah.
know what
There's
would it
one
be.
here that says popcorn.
I sit here during this podcast and I just wait for moments like we just had. Like, actually, I knew the quote coming in today was about sarcasm, so I just kept thinking of all these really awful things I could say. So get ready.
All right, great. So today is called Phil. Phil shows some bit of truth in his sarcastic comments. So Phil, when I said this to you, do you have any idea when, why, and how I would have said this?
I don't recall the context of this one.
All right, fair enough. Do you have a sarcastic way of telling me that you don't recall having the context?
Well, if I did, I would have told you, right, Matt?
Oh,
Sorry.
no, that
That sounded more
I don't
mean
know,
than
Matt. Do
sarcastic.
you
Okay.
remember?
Yeah.
that okay. So your first one was pretty good. Like it was like
Yeah.
I asked a question and you're like, how'd you say it?
Well, I'll give you an example. So with your inflection, you can make things that are the same sound really nice or really awful. So for example, I could say, I don't know, Matt, do you know? Or if you say, I don't know, Matt, do you? Like, whoa, my inflection on
Harsh.
do you was like down. It's like, you should have known that, you dumb person. So it's amazing how the way you say things, and my wife tells me this all the time when I've failed, but like the way you say things does matter, even if the words that you say are the same. It's terrible.
It is. Yeah, 90% of communication is nonverbal.
So my dad learned some Chinese. Back to that topic.
QQ.
See, yeah, I was trying to like get
So
you out of this.
he learned. No, this is
Right?
relevant.
No, well, let's
This
hear
is
about
relevant.
the Chinese government.
So
and-
he learned some Chinese, and so I asked his wife, who's from China, I said, "How is his Chinese? Is he good?" And she just laughed, and like it's this big joke. She's like, "He just sounds angry all the time." It's like when he talks, it's like, oh, like just. So he's not obviously saying it like the words he's saying are correct, but he's just saying it in a way that makes him sound angry. And I just thought that was really funny.
Well, it's cool to know that it is cross cultural as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I imagine if you don't grow up learning the language and hearing people speak the language, you don't know what inflection to use.
Yeah, I'm sure not.
And that was, I will shout out to Mrs. Fisher at Grand Forks Central High School when she taught Spanish. I mean, she was that was a big part of learning Spanish in our class, was like how to say it in what kind of inflection, or, you know, how fast to say it, you know, all these different things. Every culture has something that would make you feel like you're saying two different things, even though the words are the same.
I have a story about speaking Spanish.
Oh,
So I worked at Walmart at the service desk once. This is like after high school. I'd taken like 3 years of Spanish, so I knew Spanish.
Right.
Yeah, I did know Spanish. And we had a lot of people in Walmart, you know, that spoke Spanish. And they'd come to the service desk, and we had a coworker that spoke Spanish, so she would always talk to them. And I never understood any of it. And then one day, this little boy was lost, and he was like 6, and she was speaking to him in Spanish, and I understood it all. And I was like, "That's it. You need to speak to me like I'm 6." And then I understand.
It's totally right, because like the Spanish I remember from high school is like super childish stuff. It's like,
But they say it slowly too.
Yeah.
And I had a Spanish teacher that was very like, me amo, and like very like, and
Like
it was
Dora.
slow and moving, and that's the only way I can speak
Yeah.
Spanish.
I took French.
the language of love. There it is.
Here we go again.
Oui, oui.
and there it is. That's what we
Comment
got.
about two?
So Mark, I gotta ask you,
Yes.
when somebody's being sarcastic to you, how do you take it?
It depends on who it is. I give it to you. It's kind of like, oh, it's just Matt.
Well, and that's fair, but like, okay, so let's say
Right.
it's somebody who, like me, for instance, who you really enjoy being around all the time, cannot imagine coming to work and I'm not there. What if it's somebody who you don't really get along with and they're being sarcastic to you?
You know, I probably get a little. I'm not good at like poker face, so I probably give them a glare down or something like that. I'd be like, I'd have to use my teacher voice. Look, yeah, I'd probably be like, listen here. Yeah, knowing me, I'd probably have a comment back underneath my
Okay.
breath, or sometimes it might
Snappy.
come out. Yeah,
So you would possibly follow it up with a sarcastic comment.
yeah.
All right.
A rebuttal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Phil? If somebody, do you think it matters like who the person is? If they're, let's just say it's like not a sarcastic comment, like a mean sarcastic comment, but just kind of like jokey, sarcastic comment. Does it matter who the person is, or does it not to you?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy sarcasm in a humor context. But if you're using it in a non-humor context, it doesn't matter if you're a close relative, a spouse, or a stranger. I hate it. I think it's used pretty flippantly and too often. And so like I am anti-sarcastic in most of my life, but in the humor and joke portion, that's where like I carve out a slice and I use it all the time.
Okay, Mr. Not Humor. Sarcastic comment.
Ooh,
But
burn.
you were trying to make a joke, so you get a pass.
See, and I don't even know when I'm like, I black out most of the time when I talk, so I don't even know if I'm trying to make a joke.
terrible.
So,
Or not. But
like,
so I
let's
want
say
to.
you're having a conversation.
No, I
and
it's
completely lighthearted. You're chilling. You're poking fun. Like it works great. But like if you're working on something and somebody like comes over and criticizes what you're working on, or criticizes your method, and it's like, oh wow, I guess that didn't work out for you. It's like,
And you just say, "Oh wow, I think you should butt out."
yeah, it's like, oh, I guess you're a jerk.
to the hand.
Bye. Like
Face ain't listening.
I don't know. I just like sarcasm adds that extra edge to a comment that didn't have to be there. It's like you could say something obvious like, hey, what you're doing isn't working. It's like, yeah, I know it stinks. Help me. But if you throw the sarcasm on it, like you're really just trying to make me feel bad. You have
Right.
no intention of helping.
So we shouldn't come up to you and say, "Boy, Phil, that's really dumb."
yeah.
No, you say, "Gee, Phil, that's
Try-
really good."
Try
Yes.
not to.
Let's just boost him up.
Give me brisket first and see how it goes.
I think sarcasm is 100% truth, and people use it to speak the truth openly.
So you would change this comment to say, not. So what I said was, in every bit of sarcasm, there is some truth. You would say, if somebody's being sarcastic, they're telling you exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I do think there's two sides to it. There's the mean way, where they're telling you something mean, but they're going to make it sarcastic. So if you call them out, they'll be like, "It was
Oh,
just
it's just messing
sarcasm. Get
around."
over
Yeah.
it."
Okay.
Or there's the fun way where I'm like, "Gee, my favorite thing to do is dishes. Thanks." That's obviously my favorite thing to do isn't dishes. But it's still 100%.
So
It's the opposite of that one is truth, I guess. I'm gonna stop talking.
So I have a question for you, Chrissy. So like the other day in the lunchroom, when you did a grace move,
Oh.
and you kind of felt if we would have said like first day on your new shoes, lady, would that have been sarcastic in a fun way or not? You missed it, Matt.
Matt doesn't know
Phil
what
and
happened.
when Chrissy, Phil, and I were in charge of the office, when everybody else is like gallivanting around town.
Okay, well, first of all, I somehow, for some reason, thought that I could stand like a flamingo and
Yeah.
survive somehow. My
Yeah.
ankle was like, "Not today."
And next thing you know, Phil and I are standing there. Chrissy's talking, and she crosses her leg. And next thing you know, she casually falls down on the ground. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" As she fainted,
It was very graceful.
It was just like I would have probably given her like a 9.
Yeah.
As she kind of grabbed the counter,
was
next
like-
you know she's laying on the
I
ground.
thought
I'm like,
I thought I could catch myself.
it was quite the
You know how
sight.
they tell you to roll if you're like on a motorcycle
My
and you fall?
ankle,
It's like,
listen.
yeah,
My ankle rolled
Roll,
all
like-
the way.
you did a good job. There was no like impact, It was.
And
it
the
was
sad
awesome.
thing is, like, Phil and I didn't really rush to her rescue at first. We just looked like, oh.
Well, it's like
Then I'm like, did she pass out? What's going on?
you know when something like that happens, like it's embarrassing, and so if people like run up and they're like, "Are you okay?" and make a scene, it's like not helping right now. Like,
But it was like, also like it was like, hello.
I was like, "What are those dolls? You press the button and they collapse."
oh, those things are awesome.
With those-
Yeah.
So moral of the story is Chrissy can't stand like a flamingo anymore in her high boots.
I did not wear my boots today. I wore my flat shoes.
We're
These
not going to
boots are
tell
made
you
for
what we were
walking,
talking
not
about
standing.
when this happened.
These boots were made for falling.
Oh man, I'm okay though. Thanks, guys.
Chris, are you doing all right?
I'm okay.
Okay, great.
I really wish you could have seen it. It was awesome.
I'm having visual flashbacks. I'm back.
All right. So sarcasm. I'm trying to help you out here and get you off this.
We were just talking
randomly-
about shoes. It's okay.
good. I'm
yeah,
good. I'm good.
It was about shoes randomly falling.
We need to put a camera in the office.
So let me ask you guys this.
Hey, it depends on the instant messaging software you're using. There might
QQ.
already be a camera.
Can we roll back the security footage?
So our neighbors do have security
Yeah, but
footage on the
not
outside. I
on the
wonder if they
outside.
could see inside, and then we could do some
Through
like
that window.
CSI thing and like zoom it in and like take out a wall and all that tech stuff that doesn't really
Oh
exist.
my God. It was classy.
Yes.
That wouldn't be expensive.
Sarcasm.
More sarcasm.
Got it there. So was that full truth or half truth or?
That was the 180 truth that
That's
Chrissy
the
was talking
180.
about.
Hey, I like that.
It
180
was like,
truth.
what I meant was that would cost a lot of money. Let's abandon the idea, Matt.
Yeah.
I agree. That seems like a waste of money. Complete waste of company money. When people are like, people are.
I was thinking
Are you
maybe.
are you thinking about
I was-
yourself falling and like what other people would see?
I was
or-
thinking maybe you should install some rails in the kitchen.
Well,
That would be a good use
and
of
just for all
company.
you people
It
on
would
Radio
definitely
Land,
probably eventually save our company a lot of money
Yeah,
in lawsuits. and-
don't worry. If the camera angle is right, we could show you. We actually have Chrissy tied to the chair with a dish towel. Remember the mom used to do that?
Your mom did that to
Yeah,
you?
because you know, when you're little and you had to sit on the stool so you wouldn't fall down, they'd put a dish towel because if you didn't have like
Oh,
a.
I'm pretty.
Yeah, I was thinking in the like the Jeffrey Dahmer context.
No.
Where it's like you're now a prisoner to the chair.
No, we had high chairs.
Well, sometimes you go places you didn't have a height chair, so that's what they did. They took the dish towel and tied it to the chair so you wouldn't fall off the stool.
That's actually really
That
smart.
is a really good
Yeah.
idea.
It is. It is. Sarcastic people. Okay, so like you've heard of, or you've maybe called somebody sarcastic, or you've said, "Oh, they're really sarcastic." If you say that about a person, what do you mean about them? Or do you feel like
That's a great question.
And I'm gonna give you like some deep truth about me, and I feel like I tend to be sarcastic. Like that's my humor, I guess. I'm kind of deadpan, dry, sarcastic, if you will. I feel like when I was younger, like in my 20s and 30s, I was like way too sarcastic and probably jerkish. And I still do. We go to Harvey, North Dakota. That's where my grandma lives. I've got cousins there. It's just a place that I would love to go and have family time. And when I was newly married and still, having little kids, but, younger, I would get around my family, and our family is very sarcastic. Like that's our humor. That's where it comes from. And according to my lovely wife, Abby, she would not really like it or me at all. And she would say, "Are you going to be in Harvey mode this time?" And I say that like thinking back on it, I probably was. I probably came across to everybody as a jerk. And it changed me the more that I listened to myself and how I would communicate and how I would interact with people. And because my first always was to go to something, try to be funny, try to say something that's like going to get people to laugh. But when you do that, you're usually doing it at somebody else's expense, right? So the question is like, and I do feel like I've gotten better with that. And now I'm like Harvey mode light when I go there and I'm around Michael, and sometimes we'll just go in a corner and be jerks to each other. But Phil, Mark, Chrissy, if somebody is sarcastic, like, oh yeah, they're sarcastic, how do you feel about that person?
This is a trick question, everyone.
Oh, is he trying to find out how we
He's
feel about
just
him?
he's just identified that he's sarcastic, and now he asks us how we feel about people that are sarcastic. Like,
Love.
I'm
don't
saying,
fall for
So
it.
is it like a review
no, I'm
or
saying I'm not sarcastic
trap?
anymore. I'm saying like I'm a what do you call it?
A reformed jerk.
Yes, reformed
Yeah.
jerk. I'm also jerk.
Oh,
You
oh
said
no.
it.
Oh my.
that was your word, not Phil's?
So yes, jerk hole,
I'll answer the
It's
question. I'm not afraid of you.
The technical phrase is jerk face.
jerk face.
There it is.
Okay.
So in general, if someone is sarcastic with their 100% of their personality, I generally will not enjoy that person. And you can be around those people, but usually they're the people that you're like, yeah, I can only take so much of that guy. Is because the switch is always on. And so it's tough to read a person like that and find out where they're really coming from, because they're always using, almost like the way
jokes
you
get
described
old.
it. Yeah, they're using their personality is like a cloaking mechanism, right? It's everything is cloaked in what they're actually
Sarcasm.
thinking. And so it can be pretty wearisome, I think, to be around folks like that all the time.
I agree. Because my husband will joke and joke and joke and joke. And then finally I'm like, can we just have a regular conversation?
Yeah, I do. Mark, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I still go back to kind of like there's certain people, I just think how their sarcasm is. If they're coming across just being a jerk, and there's some people out there, they're just that way all the time. But for the most part, yeah, I think sarcasm is like fun. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, when it's like,
right, but yeah, those people, you're just kind of like, okay, enough. But you know what I can find? I just leave those people.
like if people want to call me Grace.
Yeah,
kind of fun.
I get it. See, actually, you bring up a good point, like, because we at this point are, I would call each of us friends. We're coworkers. We spend a decent amount of time together. Oh, man.
We're like,
Shoot. Well, anyway, I consider you guys
That's what do you
friends.
think?
But like,
Phil, we consider you a friend.
when you take the time to develop a rapport with someone, then you can start using these humor devices like sarcasm or, saying something that's the exact opposite. You can use it more effectively because they understand that you're not always doing that. So when those things come, you don't take it like, oh, he's trying to be mean. You're like, oh, he's making a joke. Funny.
Is it ever funny though? I think it is.
I
right?
think it is. I think it is,
I think
yeah.
there's a lot of humor that is sarcastic, and people do like comedies, and people like laughing. Like,
Yeah.
so So what I think if we were to come together around something, we would say like, sarcastic people are probably just mostly being jerks.
Yeah. And
Correct.
they're using it as a coping mechanism
insecure.
to cover
Correct.
who they
maybe
are
not
and
just
how
jerks.
they feel.
Yeah. But used properly amongst friends or family, you could probably tell some truth to somebody without being super harsh, or just kind of be joking around and have some fun.
Get some laughs.
Yeah.
I agree.
Comedic gold.
I agree.
See, I can't even find the laugh button. Like,
Just press one.
Not on that one.
Oh, no laughing. There it is.
no,
Applause.
that was applause. Still applause. Now I'm
Oh.
booing myself.
While clapping.
Well,
That's a mixed,
confusing.
and
mixed
actually,
audience.
I will just say this in all truth. When you applause and boo, that's a laugh. Sarcasm.
There's a little bit of truth to that, though, because
On that note, I think we should say goodbye.
Oh, wah, wah, wah.
Well, I appreciate the conversation today.
yeah.
And I really do miss the fact that I missed you falling down.
So are you being sarcastic when you say that?
No, I really do.
Maybe Mark will draw you a picture. Maybe I reenact it later.
You guys have a wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, you could keep the music going. That's good. We'll talk through it. We'll talk through it. Yeah. Look at this ending here.
Bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum,
All right. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
bum,
Goodbye.
bum, bum.
Find us at probiuspromo.com.